I am not Matt Cremona. I am not Rob Cosman for sure. I can't go to Rob's house so he can teach me because I don't live by Rob. Remember this? It didn't work. I mean, it worked, but it didn't work. So I bought a special bit for like $9 billion, and I tried to do this, the half blinds. Remember that? That's no dovetail joint. And so then I thought, what would Izzy do? He'd probably build a jig so that he could do them on the table saw, to be honest with you. I even tried praying to my God, little G. Hi, Mark. But to no avail, the through hand-cut dovetail has just eluded me. I want to do dovetails on my CNC machine. So finally, I figured it out. I took what was a perfectly good CNC machine with a perfectly good spoil board and bed on it, and I cut a big hole in it, and I made a jig. Now, it would take me hours to go through the process of how I finally came up with the ability to cut the through dovetails with no gaps on the CNC machine. And I turned to my Vectric software that you all know I love so much, and I began to map out what I hoped would be a through dovetail toolpath. And so I thought, okay, the first thing I have to do is understand that the width of my wood is going to be 5/8 of an inch, and this is the board looking down at the end grain. And so you're looking at the end of the wood, looking down on it, looking from the top of the jig. And so I've got 5/8 of an inch wide, and then I've got a 5-inch wide piece that I'm going to use for the drawer sides. And then the thickness doesn't really matter. I put 4 inches in here, but the drawer sides are actually 16 inches in the long way and 9 inches in the short way. But I just need enough thickness here to allow the bit to cut the dovetails down into the end grain. And then I clicked OK. And so I knew at this point that I was able to identify that I have a 5/8 inch wide piece of material, and now I need to cut dovetails in it. And I had this 8-degree, 0.4375 inches wide dovetail bit that I knew I wanted to run through this to make the tails. And so I drew that. I said, okay, this is the dovetail bit. It's going to cut on this straight line, and when it does, this part right here is going to become a tail. And this is going to become a tail. And this is going to become a tail, etc. And then I'm going to have a half tail here, and I'm going to have a half tail here. But then I needed to machine the pins for these tails to slide into, and so I had to draw this. And so if I turn the tails off there, I'm machining out where the tails are going to fit. Here, here, here. The half tail will fit here. I didn't want any blowout, so I put some circles here that would be holes I would drill first, so that when the bit came through as I was pocketing this, it would not blow out the grain and cause me problems with that. And then the way that tails and pins go together, I wanted to have a reference face so that both the pin board and the tail board would face out on the jig, and I could mark that on the wood so that I would know which face needed to face out. So I need to mirror the pins. And so this became my tail tool path. This became my pocketing tool path that would then make these pins. This area in here is a pin. This area here is a pin. There's no pin on the end of the board because you have a half tail. And so it all became kind of clear to me now that if I could get this to run on the machine, I could realize my dream of creating tight-fitting through dovetails. And so again, it would take me a really long time to sit here and draw all these vectors out, but it worked. I was able to get these drawn, create some tool paths. If I come to my preview here, reset the preview, I did a tail pre-pass with a 1/4 inch end mill, and then for my tails, because it can't show an undercut, I had to use a .375 end mill to simulate what would be the dovetail bit. And so this is kind of a simulation, looks like a box joint, but if you can imagine that I used a dovetail bit and it undercut this right here, I had my tail board. And then if I reset the preview, I drilled the pins first so I wouldn't have any blowout, and then I cut pockets for the pins. Now it's starting to look like a real pin board, right? Now you can kind of see the dovetails forming, right? And then I just used a final pass just to come in and clean everything up so that everything fit nice and tight. And in doing so, I now had tails and pins, and the question was, would they all fit together? And so let's hop over to the machine. I'll show you all the machining processes, and if you'll hang in there till the end, we'll get to see if, in fact, I was able to make through dovetails on my CNC machine.
Okay, so we've got them all machined and ready to go. In the interest of full disclosure, I began to sand. I just wanted to get the pencil markings off, but then I thought, you know what? If I sanded all the pencil markings off, I'm not going to know how they fit together. And so I stopped sanding because I wanted to put them together with the markings, then I'll take it apart and resand. So let's see how they go together, and we'll go from there. So I've got fence number 3 pins goes on the outside, and then fence number 3 tails, this goes on the inside. And so I'm going to put that to the outside, that to the inside, and it's tight. Let's see. Oh, brilliant fit. Brilliant fit. Look at that.
Alright, let's keep going. So now I've got fence 2, outside, inside. Should all be the same because they were all the same tool path. Again, appears to be a nice fit. And then we will end with, let's see, this is fence 1 outside, fence 1 inside. So it goes like this. It's a pretty snug fit. I'm so excited. I've really been wanting to do this for a long, long time. For anybody that's been watching my channel for any length of time, you know. Wow. That is so nice. Finally. Oh. So we had this one that was just a little bit tighter than the rest. But I gotta tell you, that is, in my book, a pretty nice dovetail joint. I'll throw some pictures up at the end. Wow. Can make some really nice through dovetail drawers. And now that we've got the jig all set up, it's just a matter of batching these out because that fit came out really, really good. Very happy with that.